If you're an Elder Scrolls fan, I'm sure you are already aware of the rumored Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake that is currently in the works at Bethesda. Virtuos Studios is doing the remake supposedly. We already knew that an Oblivion remaster was supposed to be coming because back in the 2020 FTC hearings where Bethesda was forced to release their predicted release schedule for their games, the Oblivion remaster was on there and it was slated for 2022. Obviously that never came to pass, and now the leaks are saying that instead of it being a remaster, it's a remake. So maybe they changed their tune, decided instead of doing just a regular remaster, they wanted to fully remake it from the ground up. I don't know, but you guys already know about it, I'm sure. Every big successful YouTuber has already done a video on it. Mr. Matty Plays does a really good job covering the leaks. If you want to go watch his video, if you don't know anything about this news, go catch up on that if you want. But I'm not going to waste your time explaining to you the leaks and all that because we really don't know that much anyway. So I just wanted to talk about, if they are doing this remake, I wanted to talk about what I think they need to do for it to be successful, for it to be worthwhile. I want to talk about what maybe they need to work on and change and what they don't need to change, and then I wanted to kind of talk about the impact it'll have on the Elder Scrolls franchise and their fan base, on Bethesda as a whole, and then of course just on the gaming industry in general. So the first point I wanted to make here, and I'm very passionate about this one, is that Jeremy Sewell's original soundtrack cannot be touched. Just leave it as it is. Don't re-record it don't do anything. Just leave it as it is. I genuinely think that the Oblivion soundtrack is top 3 soundtracks in all of gaming. It's right up there. My top 3 would be Oblivion, Skyrim, which is also made by Jeremy Sewell, and then the Witcher 3 soundtrack, in my opinion, is perfect and super underrated. So that's my top 3 soundtracks. They're interchangeable, but an argument could be made that Oblivion has the best video game soundtrack ever made. Do not touch that. That soundtrack is responsible for so much nostalgia. It's responsible for so much immersion in the world. It gives you that magical, whimsical sense of wonder, all of it. So much of that nostalgia that people feel for this game is tied directly to that soundtrack. Do not touch it. Do not do anything with it. A few years back, there were some allegations about Jeremy Sewell. I don't think they ended up actually going anywhere, and I don't really remember 100% what happened, but there were rumors that he was not going to be doing the soundtrack on the Elder Scrolls 6, which, if that is the case, I think the game is going to suffer greatly because of it, but I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. As far as the Oblivion remake goes, do not touch that soundtrack. Leave it exactly as it is because it's perfect. The second big talking point I have surrounding this game and this remake is the whole Unreal Engine 5 dilemma. And the reason why I think that this is a dilemma is because Unreal Engine 5, which is the engine that this remake is supposedly being made in, is the top of the line engine, right? It is graphically more impressive than anything else, better lighting, better shading, better shadows, all the above, better load distances. And then it also gives you technical capabilities such as going in and out of buildings and in and out of dungeons and in and out of, caves with no loading screens. That's a big thing too. You can seamlessly go in and out of structures without having to go through loading screens. And everybody knows one of Bethesda's big problems right now with their engine is all the loading screens. Starfield was literally a loading screen simulator. And in the big 2025, it's pretty unacceptable to have an engine that doesn't allow you to go into a building without a loading screen, but that's where we are with the creation engine. Now, the reason this is concerning is because Elder Scrolls 6 is reportedly being made in the Creation Engine 2, which is the exact same engine that Starfield was made in. So with Elder Scrolls 6, you can expect all those loading screens. You can expect anytime you enter a building, you got to go through a loading screen. Anytime you exit a building, you got to go through a loading screen. If you go in a cave or a dungeon, loading screen. But if the Oblivion remake is made in Unreal Engine 5, then that game is going to have the capabilities of going in and out of buildings with no loading screens. It's going to be seamless. So how bad is it going to look on Bethesda if they release a remake of an older game that has technical capabilities that their brand new Elder Scrolls 6, the big next entry in the franchise that people have been waiting for almost 2 decades. By the time it comes out, it'll be almost 20 years since the last Elder Scrolls game. We've been waiting on this game for such a long time. So how is it going to look if the remake of an older Elder Scrolls game ends up being more technically capable, more graphically impressive than the Elder Scrolls 6? That's going to be a problem. So that's why it's like, I understand it's being reported that it's being made in Unreal Engine 5, but why would Bethesda do that to themselves? Why would Bethesda put Elder Scrolls 6 in that position where the remake of an older game ends up being way more capable and way more technically sound than the big next entry in the franchise. I haven't really seen anybody talk about that when they're covering this Oblivion remake, but I think that that's going to put them in a really awkward situation where, you know, the new game in the franchise is less technically capable than a remake of an old one. Putting the whole engine conversation aside, I think one of the biggest things they need to focus on in this remake is the dungeons. The dungeons in Oblivion, in the original Oblivion release, every single dungeon in the game was made by the same person. It was all made by one person on the Bethesda Game Studios team. One guy made all of those dungeons. So the Oblivion dungeons are notoriously really repetitive. Not a lot going on. They're kind of easy to get lost in because there's no like visual markers that, cue you in on where you are. Skyrim was a lot better about that, but even in Skyrim, they were still a little bit repetitive. But Oblivion was really bad about it. Like all of the dungeons and all the caves were pretty much exactly the same looking. So, in this remake, that has to be changed. They're going to have to figure out how to make each dungeon look different, operate different, and at that point, you're fundamentally changing parts of the game from the original. So that's where it's like a remake would really be awesome because you can improve on all kinds of things that the original game lacked in, and the dungeons are a big part of that. So I think the dungeons need to be a lot more detailed, a lot more unique, and not just be the same thing over and over again, and I think that would be a really big thing. The next thing there is to talk about is the whole voice acting thing. In the original Oblivion, there's like 10 voice actors in that whole game. I mean, you'll run into 20 characters, 20 NPCs throughout the game that all have the exact same voice. And that was just because of budgetary issues, development, restraints, things like that back in that time. So it was understandable. But with this remake, are you bringing back the old voice actors and then adding a whole new cast of voice actors to do other characters? Because, a lot of the nostalgia and a lot of the, charm that Oblivion had were those original voice actors, and a lot of them were really funny and whatever. So when you're doing a remake, are you just going to do the exact same thing where it's like, oh, there's a remake in 2025 where everything looks really good and everything plays really good, but we have the same 10 voice actors scattered across the entire game? I feel like it's going to be kind of jarring. So how are they going to do that? Are they just going to say, forget y'all to the old voice actors and just bring in a whole new cast of voice actors? That would be interesting, but I don't know. That's another big hurdle that they're going to have to clear in this remake. And that all of these things I'm talking about with the Unreal Engine and with the redoing the dungeons and redoing the the voice lines, like all that stuff leads me to believe like those are way too many obstacles to overturn for a simple remake of a game. So it makes me think that maybe the rumors of it being a full-blown remake aren't 100% accurate, and that maybe it'll just end up being a simple remaster. I wanted to talk about that too. If it does end up just being a simple remaster, and for those of you who don't know, the difference between a remaster and a remake, it's a drastic difference. In a remaster, it's basically just a reskin of the game. You're putting it in a higher definition, 4K, whatever, and then you're giving it a higher frame rate and things like that, and it just runs a little more smooth and it looks a little bit better, but everything is basically staying the exact same. Whereas a remake, you're building it from the ground up. New engine, new graphics, maybe new voice lines, brand new combat system, brand new this, brand new that. Everything will be, improved upon or changed. So it's like, if it does end up just being a simple remaster, that will just be, first of all, pathetic and just a terrible attempt at an awful cash grab from Bethesda if they do that, and nobody's going to care or buy it. But if it is a full-blown remake, that would be pretty awesome. But there's just so many hurdles that they have to jump over to make a successful remake for this game. Oblivion's popularity a lot of it is tied to how janky and weird the game is, and how all kinds of, these funny, hilarious NPC interactions and all these bugs and the way the guards act and all the funny voice lines. Like, there's memes galore about this game. So it will also be interesting to see how they handle that, because a lot of the game's charm is caught up in those aspects. And when you're remaking the game, a lot of those aspects will probably be gone if you're modernizing the game. So it'll be interesting to see how they do that as well. Will the game still have the same charm that it had before if you take out a lot of the, whimsical, funny, weird stuff that happens? I don't know. At the end of the day, man, Bethesda just needs a win. It's been 14 years since the last Elder Scrolls entry. People are hungry and desperate for something in the Elder Scrolls franchise. And I think this would be an amazing opportunity. Skyrim sold 60 million copies as a whole. and Oblivion only sold about 9 million copies as a whole. So you've got, the last Elder Scrolls game sold, it's one of the most best-selling games of all time. Obviously, a lot of that is tied up in all the re-releases and stuff like that, but that's one of the most popular, well-known games of all time. So you've got about 51 million copies more that were sold of Skyrim than there were of Oblivion. So that's a huge market to tap into. There's so many people who maybe didn't play Oblivion because of how outdated it was. I mean, I have tried many, many times over the years to play Oblivion, and I've gotten pretty far into it, and I love the game. It's awesome. But I'm one of those really shallow idiots who just can't get past certain things. I can't get past, NPCs looking really terrible. I can't get past graphics being bad. I can't get past stuff like that sometimes. So I wouldn't say that made me not enjoy the game, because I do love Oblivion, but I've never finished it. I've never fully finished it. I've never fully gone in the game and done everything. Whereas in Skyrim, I've got tens of thousands of hours in that game. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. I probably, across all platforms, have over 10,000 hours played in Skyrim. Whereas in Oblivion, it's been more like, yeah, I like this game, but I'm not going to put that much time into it. So I know there's a lot of people who are just like me, or a lot of people who haven't even touched it, who have played Skyrim and they love Skyrim and they love the Elder Scrolls, but they haven't gotten into Oblivion because it's very outdated. This gives you an opportunity to tap in to a massive market of people and put this incredible game in the hands of millions and millions of people who have never given it a chance. And I think that's a great marketing tool for the Elder Scrolls 6, because it gives you that little flavor of Elder Scrolls, a full-fledged, long Elder Scrolls experience in a modern setting, in a modern way, and an enhanced graphics and everything. Like, that's huge. That's a really, really big deal. And I get that most people will be like, oh, it's just a remake of an old game. This is an amazing game. It's a huge game. It's like, it's Skyrim, It's Skyrim in a completely different location with some other kind of cool mechanics that aren't in Skyrim. But I mean, this is a big deal. So obviously it's going to be like, if they remake the game, it'll be the base game. But I also want to see the DLCs be brought to it, specifically the Shivering Isles. The Shivering Isles was an incredible DLC for Oblivion, where you go to Sheogorath's Daedric realm and you deal with all his shenanigans. And I feel like that DLC in a brand new engine, in modernized graphics, and with all that going on, I feel like that would just be incredible. So if they do this remake, which it looks like they probably are, and it is a full-blown remake, are they going to put the DLCs in it? I feel like you kind of have to. It wouldn't make any sense to remake the whole game but then be like, we're not going to do the DLCs. I hope they don't charge for the DLCs. That'd be a little bit crazy, but it also would be very on brand for Bethesda. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like you at the very least you have to put the Shivering Isles in it. And I don't know, are they going to bring the Creation Club to the Oblivion remake? I don't know. I mean, who knows what shenanigans Bethesda's going to attempt here, especially if it's successful. I mean, if it ends up being like a big hit and people love it, I don't even want to know the stuff that Bethesda's going to do to try to capitalize on that financially. I don't know. I mean, is this Bethesda's last chance to prove themselves before the Elder Scrolls 6? Again, there's all these different things to consider. What exactly are they going to change? What are they going to do differently? Are they going to remaster the whole game and all the DLCs? Or remake, sorry. Are they going to do it in Unreal Engine and then risk... Are they going to risk the Oblivion remake being graphically and technically better than the Elder Scrolls 6 when it comes out in a couple of years? Like, are they going to risk that? Are they going to do that? I don't know. I don't know if this is just a test run to see if a Bethesda-type game could work in Unreal Engine 5. I don't know if they're going to purposefully limit themselves with Unreal Engine 5, and maybe, yeah, it does look better, but you still got to go through a loading screen if you want to go into a tavern. Because again, if Oblivion lets you go into a building with no loading screen, and then Elder Scrolls 6 comes out in a couple years and you can't do that, that's going to be terrible. I don't mean to reiterate the exact same point, but that would be extremely awkward for them. That would be really, really awkward for them. So again, if they can find a way to maintain the charm that the original Oblivion had, and then give you, improved combat system, improved voice acting, improved graphics, improved fidelity, improved technical capability, this is going to be a huge hit. And Bethesda needs that really, really badly. Again, 14 years since Skyrim came out. It's been 7 years since the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer. Bethesda fans have been pissed for years now because they can't seem to do anything right. If they get this right and they do this the right way, that would be huge. I'm not even going to get into the whole moral situation of the fact that they saw the fan-made project of Sky Oblivion being made by fans for the last like 10 years. They've been working so hard, working for free to develop Sky Oblivion, which for those of you who don't know, it's Oblivion, but it's in the Skyrim engine, and they've been working on that. I mean, they've been porting over all the voice files, remaking all the landscapes, all the dungeons, everything. Like, everything is being done by hand, and they are transporting the original Oblivion game into the Skyrim engine, and with Skyrim graphics and Skyrim mechanics and stuff like that. And they've been working on that forever. And then all of a sudden Bethesda was like, oh wow, that is, a lot of people want that really badly, so we're going to make one now. We're going to make an Oblivion remake. And they realized we can't release a regular reskin remaster and then they release a full-blown remake in the Skyrim engine. So that's probably why they ended up deciding to do a full-blown remake, because if they get outshined by fans, if they release this remake and Sky Oblivion ends up being better, or ends up being a more faithful adaptation, ends up being more whatever, if Sky Oblivion ends up being better than the official Bethesda Oblivion remake, there will be hell to pay, man. I mean, it'll be crazy. Because if a bunch of fans working for free can make a better remake of your own game than you can, you are in dire straits, my friend. You are in big trouble. So let's hope. Let's just hope, man. Virtuos Studios, don't know that much about them. They're the ones doing the remake. I'm sure Bethesda is overseeing it. I'm sure Todd Howard likely is, involved in some capacity. So it will be extremely interesting to see how this goes, because there's just so much to this. There is so much to this Oblivion remake to take into account. And until we get some more information, who knows? It's supposedly supposed to come out this year. I don't know when. I don't know when they're going to announce it. Maybe they'll announce it. I think it's, the 20-year anniversary of Oblivion's release is this year, I think, like March 18th or March 20th or whatever. I don't even know. I could be completely misinforming you right now, but maybe they'll show something then. Maybe they'll just release it then. I don't know. I feel like if it's really good, they'll do a lot more marketing for it than just releasing it out of the blue. But who knows how Bethesda's going to handle this. All I know is they need this win really badly, and if they don't do this correctly, people are going to be pissed, and I feel like the hype for Elder Scrolls 6 will be even lower than it currently is. I talked about everything wrong with Bethesda, everything that has gone wrong with them, and just how frustrating it's been being a Bethesda fan. I talked about all that in my last video, so go check that out if you want, a 25-minute rant about it. But this is my opinion, my thoughts about the Oblivion remake. Nothing groundbreaking, and I'm sure a lot of it's stuff you've heard elsewhere. I just wanted to give my thoughts on it. So yeah, if you like the video, please leave a like if you don't mind. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and all that, boring nonsense. So yeah, if you guys enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe for more content like this. If these Bethesda videos do well, I might keep talking about them. I don't know. I mean, I currently just planning on talking about the gaming industry as a whole. I've been doing that, and among other things that I find interesting. So I don't know, just kind of trying to find a niche, trying to find something that works, something that people like, and so we'll just have to wait and see. But yep. Again, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on the game if you want. I rambled for like 15 minutes now at this point about stupid stuff that no one cares about, so I'll shut up now. Y'all have a good one.